I'm Jeremy.
Oh wait, now we're live. Okay, now go.
Okay. Hello, everyone. If you're watching, this is Think Dog, a live Q&A, Google Hangout, not a podcast. Josh
There you go.
and I'm Jeremy.
And I'm Josh down here in Atlanta.
Yes, indeed, I got it right for the first time. Um, but anyway, um, we'll wait for people to kind of log in, and then we'll get into it. But meanwhile, me and Josh were just kind of discussing the events over the weekend. I had a couple of seminars over the weekend in Madison, and they went really, really well. I got invited back to host another one with the two rescues that I went to go and do that event for. Great crowd and great venue. Um, but going down there in Madison, Josh, it really made me realize how many people need help, man, with their dogs. And like I said, I posted a comment on Facebook earlier today that there are limited resources for certain breeds around here.
Yeah,
Um,
you posted something about up in Wisconsin where you're at pit bulls. It's like they don't have anybody advocating for that breed up there, right?
yeah, it seems like they're very scarce, man. A lot of trainers won't work with them. A lot of daycares won't take them. A lot of kennel clubs won't accept them, and it really leaves people who do want to save a life and have a pit bull as a pet. It really does leave them in a bad place. Even breed specific legislation, it really makes things difficult for pit bull owners as far as moving places, getting insurance and all that crap, man. So um, I really do one day want to provide a place where people can feel good about having a pit bull instead of kind of shunned away by the community. It just seems like that. It seems like they're being shunned away by the community of dog people. So all dogs should be treated equally because they're all created equally. And if it's anybody to blame, it's us. So
You know what?
um,
I think I was going to say I think one of the things that is interesting about pit bulls and that I think it's good to be aware of is when it comes to breed specific legislation. I mean, we always talk about how pit bulls have just been the next one to fall into this category. Like before the pit bulls, there was Dobermans and then German Shepherds and then Rottweilers, and now it's the pit bull, and no one really says that about those other dogs. But to me, I feel like the pit bull is where it stops. I don't know that there's another breed after the pit bull. And the reason why I think this is because, with Dobermans, German Shepherds, Rottweilers, that's a really specific breed. And those, I mean, you can't just find one of those, like a pure breed of that in a rescue. I mean, most of those dogs that you get like that are from a breeder, which means you can only really get those breeds from a specific breeder. The price is a lot more, which means there's going to be less of them. But the pit bulls, man, they're everywhere. I mean, that's like the staple American dog, and they're so easy to come by. There's so many of them. They're so easy to come by, and so it's really easy to put the blame on that dog because they're just, for most people, financially to get one, it's a really low investment. And so I think in terms of that and talking BSL, that's, I don't know what the answer is yet, but there's certainly, we need to be, I don't know, looking at clearer ways of stopping that in general. But I think it's like what you were saying before. It's all about education. It's about giving them a place to go, showing, like in Wisconsin, it's great. In Atlanta, I don't think we have that kind of problem. But as far as pit bulls not being able to go somewhere, I mean, you can pretty much, almost everyone's accepting of pit bulls here in Atlanta. But yeah, up there in Wisconsin, man, and I know places out like in Denver, Colorado. I mean, you can't even take pit bulls into city limits. So I think that the more we give those dogs a place to go, and the more that we, advocate for those dogs, I mean, that's huge. It's great.
absolutely, man. And so, if you have any questions, people that are viewing, if you have any questions, please feel free to go ahead and type them. Hopefully, everything works for you, but go ahead and ask away, and we will answer them as they come on in. Otherwise, we have a few questions that are emailed and Facebook to us. Um, so I guess we can go ahead and get into those.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay. I had a question with actually a woman that I worked with on Sunday, um, in regards to, she was introducing the prong collar to the dog,
Hmm.
and she said that she's still kind of having problems with the dog looking and engaging in the other dog and barking maybe once or twice. Um, and she wanted to know what's the best way moving forward to help with that situation. And so I'll go ahead and answer that since I worked with them. And the biggest answer with that is going to be just time and consistency. The other thing is sometimes the correction has to intensify based on the intensity of the dog as well, um, because sometimes doing little stuff, if it's not able to reach your dog, you know, you definitely might have to up the ante, because it's all about reaching them in that moment and trying to get their focus at least off of the trigger. Um, Ultimately, you want it to be on you, but off of the other dog or the other human is going to be your 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 first priority kind of type goal. So definitely, if you feel like you're struggling with the less intense corrections, um, just try and match the intensity of the dog. Um, and sometimes dogs need one good one in order to really realize that you know during the walk, um, the job is to just heel by my side and relax. And sometimes we have to really um, match their intensity to achieve that. Any thoughts, Josh?
Um, in reference to just walking in general, I'm sorry, was that just having focus issues on the walk?
Yeah, she I worked with the woman on Sunday, and then the question was posted either today or yesterday. So there is a time issue, I believe, and then but the dog she said that the dog with the small tugs was still intensifying, still looking and reacting. So what would you do in that situation?
So it sounds like when she pops the collar, even if it's really light, it just creates more of an issue.
Well, it doesn't. It just doesn't solve it. So I don't think that the dog necessarily intensifies, but the dog, mm, it just doesn't seem to be reaching the dog. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think so. This is one of the things I always talk about when walking the dog. If you're not having really good success with getting their focus and getting them to stop, like zero in on whatever the distraction is, whether it doesn't matter what it is, whatever the distraction is. One of the things that I always talk about is if you're popping that leash and you feel like you want to pop, 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 you're not getting anything, then maybe you need to be a little bit more firm. I think the overlying idea is you're always as gentle as you can be, but you'll certainly be firm if you need to be as well. And if what you're doing, you're not getting the kind of success you'd like, and you feel like you're just popping your dog like crazy, perhaps you need to do one or two more firmer pops to kind of send the message that says, look, if you don't pay attention, we go here. But the second you start paying attention, the second you start looking to me for all that guidance, then we bring it back down to that gentle stuff because you don't need anything more than that. But some dogs, you can't just be gentle, gentle, gentle right in the beginning. Some dogs, you need to do one or two firm just because they need to know that you're willing to go there, and then you can go back to gentle because now they're willing to stay down
Excellent. Excellent. Yep. I totally agree, Josh. Did you want to go for your question that you had emailed to you?
Yeah, I got a question. It says, so I have two large dogs, and they seem to get dirty more often than my little one. She says, where do you bathe yours? In a tub? It's too cold outside. How often do you bathe them? What is safe for their skin? Um, so bathing dogs, generally, I mean, if I were really on top of it, I'd probably bathe them once a week, but sometimes it can go a couple months before I bathe them. Usually, I just bathe them when they're dirty, and for me, we've got in my socialization yard, I got to put mulch down there because Jeremy, you know, it's all that pine straw gets turned into dust, and then it's just dirt. And like today, we've had a lot of rain, and it's cold, and so it's muddy. But so they get dirty. Um, there's a lot. I mean, where to bathe them? I mean, you can do it in your bathtub. We've certainly done that a number of times, but it's actually a lot easier. I know the Petco for me around the corner, they actually have a self-bathing station, and I know a lot of pet stores they have. You can just walk in there and they've got a bathtub. The great thing is they got a bathtub set up, but it's actually a little bit higher, so you don't have to like get on your knees and bend over. You can actually just stand there and then reach over and they're right there, and you can bathe them that way. And of course, it's a lot easier because you got this little hose that you can pull around rather than just a faucet and like using a cup and like pouring water over them. But that's generally what I do in bathing. I mean, I'll do it in my house, but I generally like to go to one of those self-bathing places because it's just better set up for it. In terms of how often, again, I think once a week is good. I know that some people bathe their dogs more often than that. All of my dogs are very their coats are pretty low maintenance. I don't need to do a lot, which I like. But if you're two big dogs, I mean, if they've got that long hair, or if they shed a lot, that'd be a higher maintenance thing that you want to consider. But again, bathing, I think once a week is good. I know it's not good to do it every single day because their skin can't really handle it. And if your dog is sensitive, so one of the things, if your dog is sensitive, has sensitive skin, the oatmeal shampoo is really good. The problem with oatmeal shampoo is that it doesn't do a good job of getting rid of smells. It's not good at that, but it's good for the skin. But if your dog is stinky, I like Earth Bath a lot. Is a brand that I use a lot. I don't know, Jared. What brand of soap do you use? I used to just use the shampoo that was in my shower and use that. But what do you use, Jeremy?
I go to a local dog daycare around here, and I do the self bath, thing. And
Yeah.
that Earth and what was that brand you mentioned?
Earth Bath.
Earth. Yeah, that's what I use, man. I find that that's great. We used to use that in Spot, remember?
Yeah, we did. That's exactly why I went to it because that's what we used there.
Yeah. That's Old Faithful there. I just bathed my dogs last week, and they still smell great. So that's what I'm gonna continue to do. So,
How
um,
often do you bathe yours, Jeremy?
uh, I, every time they start to stink, you know, pet them and be like, dang, my hands start to smell. Then it's time for a bath.
Or it's like you go to pet them and you're like, my hands
That-
feel dirty just
yeah,
petting you. That's
yeah,
when you bathe them.
yeah. Yep. All right, guys. We've got some viewers going on. If you are seeing this, go ahead and type your questions in, and Josh and I will get started answering your questions. Yeah, type them up. Let's do it.
Over to the right here, right
Yeah,
here,
yeah. Yes, indeed.
right there.
Um, let's see here. One of the uh, most common questions I had at the over the weekend, Josh,
Hmm.
was well, first and foremost, um, a lot of people, really didn't know how to fit a prong collar, but before that, they needed to know what brand to use instead of the PetSmart and Petco brand.
Yeah.
Um, and so, can you talk a little bit about why we choose to work with the brand that we choose to work with instead of the big box store ones?
Yeah, absolutely. I am very faithful to the Hermspringer brand, and the reason why is because they're all handmade. I mean, the metal. So the thing is, obviously the prong collar's got those prongs, but a lot of people get confused because they think the prongs are there to cause pain, and really, if you ever put one on, it doesn't cause any pain at all. It just causes pressure. But the prongs are so good because it allows us to kind of have to create those pressure points, so that when you create pressure with the prong collar, it never cuts off any sort of air circulation or messes anything up here because it's just tiny little points all around the neck. So it's not meant to cause pain. It's actually meant so that it doesn't cut off airflow or mess any of this important stuff up. But because they're prongs, we really need to make sure that they're safe. So if you go, the next time you go to like PetSmart or Petco or any of those other big stores that just have the prong collars for sale, go there and feel the actual points. They're pretty nasty. I mean, they're really basically what they do is they make them in like any other kind of company who wants to make a lot and sell it for cheap. They make it cheap, and the metal's a really poor quality metal. The plating comes off, and they can cause skin irritation and rashes really easily. But the actual prongs, it's like they have a machine that goes and it cuts all the prongs off, and they don't even go back and try to like smooth it out. So next time you're there, go to the prong collars and feel some of those prongs, and you'll see it's like a really jagged edge. It's kind of scary. But Hermspringer, there's actually somebody who hand sands every single little prong, and everyone is really, really smooth. And because the quality of the metal is better, it's easier to take them on and off and pull them, apart. So we like Hermspringer because of that reason. It's really good.
Awesome. Fantastic. Yeah, Hermspringer is the way to go. That other stuff, that other brand, it fails way too easily as well. So if you're having it on, sometimes those malfunction a lot quicker. So we okay, we have our first little comment here. Thanks for the advice on Jade. I know the collar is brand new, so I'm sure it'll stick eventually. I didn't want to start correcting too aggressively. You did such a great job emphasizing gentleness at the seminar. Thanks for clarification. So I want to elaborate on that too, Kelly. Our goal is to do what's necessary. Just like Josh explained earlier, you want to be as gentle as possible. But the goal is to reach them in those moments to get to the other side. So sometimes we do have to sacrifice a little bit more and put a little bit more firmness into our corrections so that we can start to begin to be gentle, and then eventually your dog does respond to the gentle pressure because we've done the necessary work to get there. So I wish you luck. Definitely feel free to contact me if you need any help with Jade further going forward. And looks like I'm going to be down there March 8th. So if you're around, please be there.
Jeremy, actually, this brings up a good something that I would like to talk about because I think it's many times people see it differently, but it's the idea of being correcting in a firm way. I think it's really easy for a lot of people to look at heavy corrections or corrections that are really firm as bad and abusive and as something that you shouldn't be doing with a dog. But I think in reality we have to be realistic. I mean, certainly if you got a dog on the end of the leash that is, barking, growling, and going really aggressive on the leash towards another dog, I mean, you're not going to reach that dog, like Jeremy says, reaching and getting it to a point where like they see you and they can't not ignore you, or they can't ignore you. You're not going to reach that dog with gentle handling. I mean, they're being in their aggression, being ridiculously firm and like over the top. So for us to actually get there, we've got to match them. We've got to get to that place so we can actually bring them back down. So I think when it comes to really heavy corrections, it's easy for people to think negatively about it, but I think it's that same idea of the goal is, like Jeremy was saying too, the goal is we always want to be gentle. We always want to be so light because that's how you want to be with a dog. But if you're not willing to go more firm when it's necessary, your dog's always going to kind of push you around, and your dog's always gonna be difficult to handle because you haven't set that tone with them. You haven't said, "I'll step up to you. I will go where you go, just so that I can make you safer."
Good point, buddy. Very good point, man. So yeah, for any other viewers, go ahead and type your questions. And Kelly, if you have another question, go ahead and type, because we'll be here, and we still got a ways to go. So go ahead, feel free to ask another question that you have. So I want to talk a little bit about separation anxiety, because that was another big one for the weekend that we got. A lot of people wanted to discuss that. Separation anxiety and calming in the crate. And this goes back to me. I remember you and I, Josh, were trying to figure out separation anxiety back when we were at Spot. Because I was trying to figure out why are dogs so anxious when their humans leave. And I told this story to the seminar, man. I said there was this one guy who came in and grabbed his dog, didn't say a word to his dog, just grabbed the leash and walked out.
That's awesome.
Some of our staff thought it was a little bit mean, because everybody else, it was a freaking party when they saw their dog, and it was so unstable and this, that, and the other. But this one guy, his dog name was Bill. Best dog.
Oh, good old Bill.
One of the best dogs in daycare, man. His owner would come in, say maybe 2 words, grab the dog, and just walk out. And Bill would be the same way, just totally relaxed, and one of the best dogs that, like I said, Josh and I had to work with at Spot for Dogs. And so, so we started to kind of think about that, the difference of, Bill and his owner versus the other dogs. And we started to think, if we make it a big deal that we've been gone and that maybe we're leaving, I think that could be a cause of separation anxiety. And I think we really feel like we have to make it less of a big deal that we're going, or that we're leaving. We have to make it less of a big deal that we're leaving, and not a big deal that we're going home. Josh has a really good video, or that we've came home. Josh has a really good video of how, even after hours of being him being not home, when he goes into the house, his dogs don't even leave the bed, because they know the drill, and they're calm. They know that calm energy gets the attention instead of the crazy jumping at the door, jumping on people, crazy energy. So, what do you think about that, Josh? What is your outlook on separation anxiety?
Well, I think it comes down to a really basic concept. I mean, if you think about your dog, no matter, even my dogs that are really great, and even Jeremy's dogs that are also really great, no matter how much work we do, and no matter how much of the right things that we do, they're still going to feel a little bit of stress every time we leave. And the sole reason is because they will never ever understand or comprehend, why do you have to leave me and then come back? Why don't I always get to go with you? If you're part of my family, if we're essentially a pack, we should never be separating. We should always be together, because if we're thinking in terms of, survivalism, and dogs are survivalists, that's everyone's highest likelihood of survival, is being together, strength in numbers. And so no matter how good your dogs are, they're always going to feel a tiny little bit of stress when you come and go. And so it's up to us to help them manage that stress. Now, if you leave the house, and this isn't like the end-all be-all that creates separation anxiety, but what we find with almost all cases, people are making a big deal out of leaving the house and coming home. And it causes a lot of problems, because when you start to grab those keys, when you start to put those shoes on, your dog is already starting to get anxious because they see, okay, this is where he leaves. This is where he's going to go somewhere else. And if you start saying, it's okay, buddy, I'm going to be right back, I'm going to be right back, what they understand in that moment isn't what you're trying to communicate. And it's completely, legit. What you're trying to communicate is, please don't worry. Like, I know you don't understand, but I'm going to be coming back to you. But all they hear is you trying to make it seem better by being really jovial and talking in a really higher pitched tone and all of these things. And when they analyze us in our normal habitat, the dogs analyze us as humans in our normal habitat, whenever we're really jovial and our voices go up, that usually means good things. That usually means things are really positive. And so essentially what it means is that when you're trying to say, hey, buddy, I'll be right back, it's going to be okay, what they see is, oh, good boy, be stressed out, good boy, that's what I want from you. Same thing when you come home. Hey, buddy, I'm so glad to see you. Oh, my God, I've missed you. Same exact thing. All they see is, good boy, please be stressed out, that's what I want from you. And so the first step is, you got to take it to zero. You've got to do nothing. Not because the reality is, there's no way we can give them flashcards. There's no way we can give them, a statement that says, I'm going to be coming back. The only way that you can give them that is by reliably coming back every single time over time. And what happens is when you first get a dog, and anybody, if your dog is brand new, it doesn't matter how good your dog is, they're probably a little more stressed. But then there's probably those of you out there that have had dogs for 5, 6 years, and you're like, oh, my dog doesn't even care. Because you've had 5 or 6 years of you coming and going. And because they've understood this is part of the norm, the stress, whereas before it was like here, is now down to here. Just because they know, well, it's very reliable they're going to come back. They never not come back. So that's what I think it really boils down to separation anxiety is no matter what, there's still going to be a little bit of stress, and the amount of, the amount of drama you put around you leaving the house and coming is going to either increase that stress or help you keep it to a very low, small amount.
Awesome. Yeah, separation anxiety is a big issue among a lot of dogs, and a lot of owners struggle with that one. So just to remind people, if you do use the Hermspringer prong collar, please fit it so that it is snug up on your dog's neck, typically as high as possible. So remember that the prong collar is not a piece of jewelry. It shouldn't be hanging. And Josh and I both have good videos of a lot of great prong collar conditioning and introducing and everything. So we have many resources here, guys. If you have any questions between Josh and I, we have hundreds of videos.
Absolutely.
To help you guys out with a lot of issues. So we want to do this show as another resource for you guys, because hopefully our goal is to help as many people as possible. So one other thing though, Josh, that I kind of get sometimes, and it frustrates me. It really does. I had a question. Someone emailed me a question, not about the show, but earlier about one of the younger adolescent dogs was teasing or kind of getting jealous of when she would give attention to the older dog. The younger dog kind of would mildly attack her.
Mm-hmm.
But it would be like, not when I say mildly attacking, I'm thinking just rough play.
Right.
Kind of like that bite on the ear, that ha, like that kind of goes like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And she asked me if e-collar work would be the solution, and I said, that's a secondary focus. Your focus
Absolutely.
should be on getting that dog just to respect your verbal correction, which means that the relationship of you and that adolescent dog has to change, because I have the same kind of issue. I've got a younger dog coming up, and he wants to be in the party all the time. So, and I've got to correct him. Like, no, I can pet one dog at one time, and the rest of you just kind of have to deal with it until I get to you. And
Mhm.
so I feel like a lot of trainers focus on um, the tool as the solution, but tools can change the dynamic, but it really needs to be coming from you know you and the bond that you develop with your dog that can really the dogs need to see you in a certain way, and the e-collar is, yes, it will help, or any tool for that matter will help, but overall our dogs need to see us as the pack leader for sure.
Yeah, I really think that goes to. I mean, to me, because I had somebody ask something similar about, my dog will, uh, something about my dog will bark in the crate is putting, not in the crate, but like my dog, if I don't play fetch with him, will start barking at me. Is an e-collar a good solution to that? And I think it's very similar to what you're saying. Is that it's not a tool issue, it's a relationship issue. And I think, again, a lot of, not just trainers too. I mean, there are a lot of trainers get caught up in this, but a lot of people get caught up in, well, this tool isn't working, so I need a new one. That tool isn't working, so I need a new one. This method isn't working, so I need a new one. It has absolutely nothing to do with any of that. It actually doesn't matter what tool you use. All that matters is that your relationship with the dog actually gives you the result that you want. And honestly, the best tool that any of us have in our toolbox, the very best tool that you can use, is yourself.
Mm.
That's the one place the dog is looking for guidance the most, is you. They're not looking at the leash, they're not looking at the prong collar, they're not looking at the e-collar, the clicker, or the treat, or anything else. They're looking at you. They're
Mm.
wondering, what are you doing in order for me to know what I'm supposed to do? So in some way, it's almost good to not even think about the tools. And usually what I tell my clients when it comes to the tools, none of this is meant to be forever. None of this is meant to be permanent. Even, I mean, in terms of talking the leash, theoretically, it's not meant to be permanent, because what we're doing with our dogs is you would think that, well, if I get a dog, I shouldn't need anything. My dog is perfect just because they're with me. Just because I'm me and the dog is them, and us together make a perfect match. But the reality is that's not really the case in our 21st century world. We have careers, families, stressors, homes, mortgages. That's not really a reality anymore. So what we have to do is find something that helps give us the edge to get the results we want out of the dog while we build that appropriate relationship with our dog. Somebody like Jeremy and I, it's probably a little bit easier because we're around dogs all day and we work with many different behavioral issues and just scenarios in general. It's probably a bit easier for us to kind of get results from dogs using nothing. I mean, but the tools are there to give you that edge. I mean, I remember back in the day when Jeremy and I were doing dog daycare. We were in a yard of 50, 60 dogs at one time, and they're causing a huge ruckus, and a fight might break out. You didn't have anything. All you had was you. And so I think for us, we had a lot of practice in learning, okay, what can I do to get the result? I don't have anything but me. What can I do to make this happen? But that's years upon years of us studying that, and no one expects you to do that. So that's where the tools really come in to help. But baseline, it's not really about the tools. The tools aren't going to get you where you want to be. It's how you use them that get you where you want to be.
That's a great point, buddy, because that's exactly one of the things I stressed this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And I explained it as, the tools are just a bridge.
Yeah, it's a bridge. That's a good word for it.
We have to use that consistently in order to cross and get to the other side, which is not using that tool. It's a temporary thing. So, for example, I did have questions about why I don't use a lot of treats in my training, and I totally expected that. But for example, when we teach the recall, we do, and I wanted to stress that uh, during that recall, yes, I want to add food as an incentive to come, but not as the overall reason why they're coming, because I want them to come because I told them to come.
Right.
Why do we train this way? This is a good question. Why do we train that way? Why do we train with that they rely on the bond? Why do we train um, with no treats and in that way? And it's because we want our dogs to come to us not only because they want to, not only because um, they have to, but it is sometimes it is life and death situation. I mean, it can save you a lot of headaches if your dog comes when you call the first time or the second time, and they come. Yes, I'm glad that you come, so I give you some treats, but we should not rely on never rely on something as the reason why they're coming, because in all situations, the only thing that we're ever always going to have is the relationship. And so
Mm.
we have to do what it takes to keep that manipulated. And another good question, Josh, was can you
Yeah.
talk a little? This guy was like, can you talk a little bit about praise and affection and how that affects? And I said, great question, man,
Yep.
because we, in certain situations, we love our dogs up, blah 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 blah. But for example, if we're out on a pack walk, praise for me has to be so selective because again, if something goes wrong or if my dog decides to go towards the road, that affection has been sort of saved for the moment that they decide to come and not run into the street. So selectively using your affection when you need it to effectively get them to do what you want them to do in certain situations is 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 uh, is using it as a tool, using your affection and your bond as a means to get your dog to comply when exactly they need to comply.
I think too when it comes to dogs, I mean, again, primarily the way that we're going to lead the dogs and the way that they're going to get any information from us is we have to lead by example. We literally have to do what we want our dogs to do. And that's where praise is huge because if you're in the house and you just tell your dog to down and you go, oh, good boy, good boy, good boy, good boy. You see what you're doing? You're literally going, wah! And then that's going to take your dog who was doing it down also go and jump all over and then be all excited. And so that's where praise. I mean, I know Jeremy and I both. We use a ton of praise in our training, but it's how do you praise? I know that there's a lot of people like agility, sport dogs. When you're out there, your praise is crazy. Your praise is nuts because you want that dog to really that drive. You want them to be really active. You want that really positive, energetic attitude. So you're really excited, energetic, but that's a sporting dog. That's sports. But if you're talking, and again, like Jeremy's saying, you're using that praise as a tool. You're getting really amped up because you want your dog to get really amped up. But then again, you're using that praise as a tool again if you're in the house and you're like, man, I just want you to lay down. I don't want you to run circles in my house while I'm sitting here trying to watch TV. I want you to lay down and relax. So if I give you a down command, I'm not going to say good dog, good dog, good dog, because that's going to be using that tool ineffectively. I'm going to say good dog. That's what I want. Very matter of fact, very plain, very low energy. Because again, you're leading by example. You're showing them, I'm going to be exactly what I want you to be. And that can be a really big challenge for a lot of people because, I think one of the coolest things about dogs is if you know how to look at them, they will make you incredibly self-aware. There's a lot of people who say, my dog is really amped up. My dog is high-strung. My dog is all over the place. Why is my dog that way? And for me, it doesn't really take too long to figure it out, but for them, it takes a little bit longer to kind of come to the answer that your dog is high-strung because you as a person are high-strung, or you as a person, you have a job where you're really stressed out, you're dealing with a lot, and you don't realize how you think you're keeping it in, but you don't realize how much of effect it has on your dogs because you can't lie to them. They're going to see it no matter what. And And again, like I think we just this whole idea we've been talking about the relationship you have with your dog. Baseline, it comes down to whatever kind of dog you want, you have to be that. Because if you're not that, your dog isn't going to be what you want.
That's an excellent point, buddy. So for our viewers, guys, if you have any questions, feel free to go ahead and type them in, and we will answer them accordingly. I think I've got another question I can answer.
Okay.
So basically, one of the guys asked in my email, what kind of activities can we do with our puppies? What kind of training things should go on, and what kind of boundaries or kind of when should we put certain boundaries on the puppies? Basically, when does puppy training start?
Mm-hmm.
And for me, and I know Josh for well, as well. Training starts when the puppy gets to the house.
Immediately, the moment you touch that leash, training starts.
Yeah, the first day. First day you get them. That's when the communication is open. So first and foremost, crate training is going to be essential. Getting your dog to really realize that outside is where it needs to go and inside is not where it needs to go. And that's going to take some attentiveness from you. The more attentive you can be, the faster they're going to learn. That's what I've learned because I'm 10 months in on my puppy, and so I'm pretty fresh on what to do right away.
Has it already been 10 months? I feel like he's still like 4 months old. That's crazy, man.
Oh man, yeah, he's matter of fact,
11.
he's 11 months now. So
Golly.
yeah, Big Mac, he is something else, man. Good Lord, he's a fireball for sure. But anyway, one of the other cool things I like to teach my puppies, and this is nothing technical, but I like to teach them how to really come to a calm place. I think patience can be learned at a really young age. So I don't allow my puppy to burst out of the crate. One of the things that I do is kind of let them or help them learn that if you're calm and you sit, you get what you want. But that crazy bolting out of the crate energy, that doesn't work day one. It's cute. It may be this, that, and the other, but if you can think more along the lines of what issues that you might be dealing with if you let it go because it's cute in the future, then you'll be more likely to say, all right, we need to stop this right away. Because even for me, there are things, because I got Mac when he was so young, there are things now where I'm like, I kind of slipped on this one here, and because of the cute factor, now we've got something we got to work on here. So. Yeah, man. When he sees people, he goes hard, man. Meaning not hard, but I mean he gets excited. I want y'all to think it's all crazy, but he loves people, and I don't necessarily want my dog to see people as a resource for affection. I want him to not have a problem with people, but I don't want him to see people and just think that now he can go nuts. You know what I mean? Because I want him to get into therapy work and whatever in the future. So patience is what I could teach. What I teach my dog, my puppy was a big one, and handling them every which way, and making sure they're okay with you touching their paws, teeth, ears, everything is a really good thing to do, because some dogs get really shy if you leave it for too long when cutting their nails. That's another thing. Nail care you could do, bathing you could do, any and all things to try and help your dog become comfortable with something that they have to do a lot. basically. Any thoughts, Josh?
Yeah, I have not been fortunate enough like you to raise a puppy from of my own, but we've worked with a lot of puppies. We've worked with a lot of puppies, helped coached a lot of people to raise their dogs, and what they need to do, and it's puppies can be really challenging because it's like having a child. I mean, you have to. I mean, they're very high maintenance. That's the thing about a puppy is extremely high maintenance, and they don't know anything. So you've got to teach them everything. And I think a lot of people when they think the question is, how soon do I start training my puppy? Training isn't sit down, come. It's something that's so much bigger than that. I mean, it's just relationship. It's just back and forth. It's just when I grab the leash and we start walking, you stay with me. There's no pulling. There's no stopping. Like Jeremy said, when we're in the crate, if I open the door, you don't burst out. It's training is. I mean, I almost feel like training isn't even the right word anymore because it's not really like we're training them to do anything. We're just being. We're existing. We're educating them on what domesticated life is. You don't just pee wherever you want to pee. There's rules to it. So in terms of answering a more real question, which would be when can I start teaching my dog to sit and down and come? Immediately. Immediately. There is no you have to wait a certain amount of time. You start immediately. And again, I know Jeremy and I have lots of videos online that probably goes into this stuff further. But what you're working on immediately isn't, oh, well, he can sit. What you're working on immediately is I want to start building my relationship with him the right way. Did you see a question, Jeremy, from Amanda?
No, I don't see it. You go ahead since you see it. I don't see it.
Hey, Amanda, she says, how do you teach patience to a dog that is not a puppy? That's a good question. That's a good one. And I think that when we're talking about patience, what we're really talking about is impulse control. Because dogs are very, they react on their impulses. They can be very reactive. And, if you want to teach an adult dog to really have that impulse control, that ability to not jump up, or that ability to not grab this or grab that, or to not pull on leash, or to not keep getting the pine cone and taking it away from you kind of thing. Well, that's not a good example, but just that patience in general, that impulse control, teach them place. The command place. Place doesn't seem like a bit, and we have both Jeremy and I have videos online of the basics of how to teach this. But to me, when I always think about place, I always think this is the most silliest thing. I'm just telling my dog to lay down on one spot, and I don't really feel like this does much. But when you really think about it, it does more than almost anything else, because the idea is that you do it for duration. So you do it, and we're talking hours on end. Your dog can hold place. But dogs are so moment to moment to moment. They're always thinking something new. But the beauty of place is that they have something tangible to focus on. They have this really clear thing with boundaries to start to focus in on. And because they have that tangible thing, when they go moment to moment to moment, before they act, they're going to take in their surroundings, and they're going to see they're on place, and they're going to remember, oh, that means I'm supposed to stay here versus going somewhere else. So in terms of teaching them patience, that's exactly what place does. It gives them that impulse control. It gives them the ability to control the impulse to get up and go look out the window, or to get up and go react because the doorbell went off. Because, oh, right, I'm on place. Whenever I'm here, I have to stay here until my owner says I can leave this thing. And so in turn, it also gives them a lot of patience to work through it as well.
Yeah, that's a good point. What's the last name of that, Amanda?
Schoen.
Oh, yeah, I got to give a shout out to her, man. She watches every week. And
thank you, Amanda. We appreciate your viewership.
Yeah. She's a client of mine who had Charlie, and very dedicated. Dedication is probably one of the best that I've worked with. So
dedication is your middle name.
Yeah, shout out to Amanda. I'm glad to see you every week with a question or comment. Thank you very much. That's awesome. Um, so yeah, patience just comes in the form of really in a lot of things. The way your dog eats, the way your dog comes in and out of a crate, basically in the face of all the thresholds. And like Josh was saying, if you got that place command, man, that's a bread and butter for a lot of things going forward. That dog has a good solid down and can just wait there, then you're winning half the battle with the solution to a lot of problems. Because your dog trusts you enough to be in a vulnerable position, which is the down, despite whether something's making them feel scared or not. So, patience training is really just is duration work with our dogs, it shows a level of respect that our dogs have for us, and I think it's really, really good. I worked with a puppy this weekend, and man, just made your heart melt because he was so patient and so willing to work. I was just like, you have a good puppies, man. I just basically told him to do some activities, moving around and making him wait more and more for feeding and food and giving him some food um, so that he can develop that patience. Because a lot of people give that praise or that food or whatever the same time every time that dog is asked to do something, and so the dog develops no patience or gets impatient and starts to get antsy in the command, right? So you and I, Josh, when some dogs are asked to sit, and if that treat don't come in within the first 3 seconds, then they're getting cranky. So one of the things we do is, again, and that's the other kind of I guess disadvantage of working with food, is that your dog is expecting things, right, all the time, and so he's like, with that treat, I'm not gonna sit if you don't give me a treat, not. I wanted to say one more thing, that food, a reason for how we train and why we train the way we train, and why we use food the way we use it, because both of us do use it, but I wanted to say this. I said this example, Josh. I said,
Yep.
if you're in a conversation with someone and you're genuinely scared about this person that you're arguing with, if I give you a pizza, is that going to help you change the way you feel about that person? Because I'm pretty sure in that moment you won't even have an appetite, even if you haven't even eaten.
Well,
Some dogs
like,
lose
hey,
their appetite.
it's like, hey, I think you're a terrible person. Here's a slice of pizza.
Yeah, it's like, that's not gonna help. I'm gonna steal. You were still very disrespectful to me, sir. So these chicken wings aren't gonna work. Anyway. So yeah, but similar to a treat, we can. A lot of people were questioning me about saying, what if they associate that with the treat, and it just doesn't work like that. They don't just say, oh, because you gave me a treat, now I'm gonna feel less safe or more safe about that dog that's passing me on leash, trying to bark at me and bite me. So.
And this is one thing I think is probably a good. It's probably a good thing to kind of, I guess, end on as well. But for a lot of people out there, especially those of us that are really interested in dogs, you do a lot of study online, you do a lot of reading, you read a lot of books, you follow a lot of people, you read a lot of blogs. Here's the thing. Dogs are really simple. They are not as complicated as everybody wants to make them. So what I feel like I say more than anything else when somebody asks me a question is I tell them this. You're thinking about it too much. Stop thinking about it so much. It's way easier and simpler than that. They're not as difficult as you think they are.
Absolutely. Well, that's all the time we have, folks. But thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in, and hopefully we'll see you next time. Hey.
All right, guys. Well, Jeremy's losing control of his pack over there. He doesn't know what he's doing, obviously. So we'll see you next time. I'm Josh.
I'm Jeremy. We'll see y'all.
See you later.